You are, and I'll remove
Oh,
the
okay.
obstacles.
So, I'm still cleaning up after you. Not mine. Got all the stuff in my hand.
Good morning.
Time.
Thanks.
Okay, once again, and Trent, you can be in the group and do the music like you did the other night, you know? Great.
This is it for us?
Huh?
This is all of us?
Well, Leo's coming, and Lisa's here, and Alice is here, and Trent is here.
Oh, you look nice today too. Not that you really don't, but you're wearing a dress and all.
Alice, let's have you and Trent participate too.
Nowadays, dress is dressing up, so, you know how it goes.
So for a warm-up, just start again practicing your acknowledgements, you know, higher self-level. And remember that the more you practice these, the reason why we do these all the time in Movement to Mastery and other things is because it grows your level of insight by simply doing them. I know that from personal experience, okay? So use all your personal power, imagine as high as you can, and acknowledge that you see in them, okay? And you might also notice that whatever you're acknowledging them for is a projection, okay? Okay, stand up and go from person to person.
I thought you were picking Trent.
I'm on your chair.
Okay, here we go. Where's the waterfall? It does, it does.
I know it's possible. Why not? Yeah, it just needs to happen. They're not gonna stay down for an hour. They'll just make some. Yay, Alice, Donnie-o.
Hi, Trent. No, this is a great experience.
It's not the easy path.
No, it's not.
got to learn about it.
You were the first person I ever did that ponytail, so I swear. And we stood on top of chairs, remember? We were like,
Probably wrong.
tight.
It's true.
Just share those.
No, I was terrible at it. I'm pretty good at it now.
That process is so
We tried to do that with karaoke by myself.
Huh?
I
Okay.
tried it. I thought your eyes were glowing from another universe, and then
Yeah,
it was called-
Superhero.
I really see how strong you are, and like how much you're able to keep shoulder to carry is to.
Apparently, I acknowledge you before you were Captain Marvel. And your ability to arrive and be.
Deep man, that dream is strong enough. It's like you need to see what happens when you know the person first. I get friendship. I get friendship. I get it. People get wanting to push for their grades. Gives you permission to dream about tomorrow. See how much I feel it.
I'm watching Starbucks.
Are you the girls that I was showing?
Okay, wrap it up with the person you're on and have a seat.
Married.
All girls again.
Almost all girls.
Well, it is the year of perfect vision.
Trent's not wearing a skirt
It would make
today.
sense that most.
Oh, that's kind of a cool thing.
I snagged it on the way out.
I didn't.
Okay, pull out your notes in your memory and call out one sentence that captures any of the principles that you definitely want to remember when you leave. Raise your hand, I'll call on you. Okay, Danielle?
Your vehicle of support is what will catapult you.
Yes. And the other part of that is that the reason why your vehicle of support is the one that can greatly affect all the other areas of your life is specifically because it is your vehicle for support. It is the structure that makes all the other ones go. So it doesn't matter whether it's my work or some other group where you're getting this kind of structure and support. That's why you want to make that vital, because it's what catapults all the other areas. Great, thank you, acknowledge. Okay, Trent?
One of the keys to influence is to speak to their highest nobility. If you want to see the best in you, look for the best in them.
Yes. And when you recognize their magnificence, then you come home. Good. Great. All of us acknowledge, each share. Okay, Alice?
True being is being outrageous and audacious.
Yes. That's why I love Teddy Roosevelt, because he was so audacious. You know, I love that movie, The Wind and the Lion, because it shows him being audacious, you know, great.
Need more.
Yeah, acknowledge. Zola,
Plays anything you do at 100%.
excellent, acknowledge. Danielle.
If you have a negative thought, this might not be the same words you use.
Elisa, you can step outside when you take that call, honey.
If you have a negative thought, come back with 3 positive thoughts, 3 do ones. Did you see that?
No,
That was from
Lori.
that was from my.
from her interview.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds great. Wish I'd said that.
I was like, wait, did he say that? I haven't
Acknowledge.
written down. That's a good idea though, right?
It's absolutely a great idea.
That's awesome. Gotcha.
And I suspect that she got that from Abraham Hicks, because she's been listening to Abraham Hicks a lot lately. Great,
Oh, Lori.
acknowledge. Okay, somebody else. Okay, Alice.
The most effective use of time is to synergize everything. Look to see how everything supports everything else.
Yep, excellent, acknowledge. Actually, Alice, that's a really great key for the next awakening, you know what I mean? You wanna look and see where the very best people are, make sure you get them on board first, and then have in mind, you know, it's kind of like the best mothers, okay, are those that do next to nothing. Their job is not to be logistics and do all the doingness. Their job is to be space, to hold space, to actually look and see what's needed and wanted, and then get someone to do it. See? The worst mothers are the ones that do it all themselves. Like, you know, so that's how you want to hold the awakening. You're not doing anything. You're getting everybody else to be empowered to do it. Okay? Good. And actually, you really want to spend some time with Laura asking her how she did that. Because I've never seen anyone produce the awakening more efficiently. Okay? Good. Acknowledge. Any other principles, Danielle?
I hope you said this too. Create safety within yourself. No one can make you safe but yourself.
Try it, probably Lori.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good, acknowledge. She's the queen of safety. Zola,
Oh, am I raising my hand?
you're not raising your hand?
Oh, I was raising my hand.
Your hand
This
is
is
up.
not raising your hand.
It looked like so.
Yeah, you've got your hand like this, you know?
Sorry.
Like, power to the people.
I'm not raising my hand.
Leo needs me to get him stuff.
Wait, is he in West Valley?
He's at 13760 South 2700 West.
Okay, go. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any others? Trent?
I've got 2 Werner quotes. You've said them so many times that I feel like they're yours now. But they really touched me on Wednesday night. These are principles over
Hold
which
on,
you will
Sue,
never.
Alice, you should, when somebody tries to talk to you, when somebody else is talking, you gotta know enough to say, not right now,
Sorry.
you know?
You mean you want me to be smart?
I should have stopped and waited for you guys to finish.
I want you to be a leader.
I have to pull in.
Okay, Trent.
2 Werner Erhard quotes. These are principles over which you will never get, and you don't have to go looking for love when love is where you are coming from.
Yes,
I really like those.
yeah, those are great quotes. And I always acknowledge whoever I get the quotes from.
I'm quoting Gary, quoting Werner, and then I'm gonna say it to somebody else, and I'll have to quote me, quoting Gary, quoting Werner.
Trent? Sorry we interrupted. Apologize.
Just clap for me, that's all I'm looking for.
Acknowledge.
That's all I'm looking for.
And then you're forgiven.
It bugs me when people do that too, and I'm sorry.
Okay, any other principles? I said a lot of good stuff over the last 3 days. Okay, Zola.
If you dive into your old life at 100%, it becomes a stepping stone for your new life.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's right.
It is good.
Good job.
Will you say that one more time?
Acknowledge.
Yeah. When you dive into your old life at 100%, it becomes a stepping stone to your new life.
Hmm.
And the example I used was when people are feeling like they want to get away from a job and they want to get a new job, or they want to do a private practice or do something else, they often start to go through the motions in the old job, and that's a huge mistake. They want to dive in at 100% regardless of what they're doing, because that's what allows the new thing to be born. It's like you're being born and you're putting the brakes on. It would be like someone who's trying not to be born. The best way to do that is to go through the motions.
Can you still elaborate on that? Because I'm looking at it as if I'm diving into my old life 100%, then I'm not leaving it.
No,
That's how I see it.
I
That's
got
what I'm
it.
asking.
I got it. Yeah. The best way to be stuck on any issue in any arena is to go through the motions.
I agree.
Because then it's like what you are in essence is a tube.
I
Okay?
agree with what you're saying, but isn't
What
that
you
what?
are in essence
But
is a
isn't
what?
that what you put 100%? When you're putting 100% into your old life, isn't that what you're doing, going through the motions? Or are you saying being, see that, I'm lost. I'm sorry, but I just,
It's impossible to go through the motions and be at 100% at the same time. They're exactly opposite of each other. You can't ever be 100% and go through the motions.
because
They
you're not being
totally-
deliberate.
Huh?
So you're saying basically, when you go into your old life 100%, be deliberate versus just go through the, deliberate versus go through the motions.
Yes.
That's what you're saying, so
Right.
being more deliberate.
Right.
Okay, more
Right.
mindful.
Right.
Okay.
When you go through the motions, you're emotionally constipated.
That's true.
So if you want to be stuck, and, people are quite capable of being stuck forever, like until they die. Okay? I mean, most people on the planet are pretty dead. They're the walking dead, because they're stuck. They don't, and it's not their fault. They don't have the skills to ask for help, to get support, you know what I mean? They're just stuck because they're so going through the motions, they're so resisting what's happening in their life, they can't move on. The only way to get unstuck is to be 100% at whatever. Then you can move. And people always have the perfect justifications for being stuck. People will always justify whatever they're going through. Even though they're in pain, even though they're suffering, they will always find a way to justify it. You know what I mean? Smart man in a dumb job. A marriage that's a lie. They always find a way to justify it.
Understand.
If they were being 100%, they would get beyond justification and they would see what's going on and they would actually start to move. They wouldn't be emotionally constipated, they'd be actually moving. And then the movement would take them in some direction that's more satisfying. Tony Robbins says, you're always moving away from pain or toward pleasure. So the key for any good therapist or counselor or coach to get you to do something different is to get you to increase the pain of the old and increase the pleasure of the new. And when you do that, people will change. Okay. Let's acknowledge Sue. Any other principles? Okay, I'll move on. Do me a favor. Oh, I'm gonna When Elisa and Leo get back, do me a favor and remind me to do the thing for the ancestors. Okay? You know, Alice, whenever anybody signs up for the Awakening, I'm gonna put it in the pre-course packet, and we should remind everybody that they want to assist or participate at every workshop that comes along until their awakening. You know? Because they don't realize how much they're robbing themselves by waiting until the awakening. You know,
Right.
if they were to assist or participate in every workshop until the awakening, they'd get tons more out of it. You know? So remind me to do the thing with the ancestors when Leo and Lisa get back, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Do me a favor. Who here knows how Facebook works? You do? Okay, good. So I would like everybody, I'm just inviting, this is not an expectation, this is an invitation. I'd like everybody to rave about us on Facebook. So I'd like you to do that now. Short, sweet. So what's the way to do that?
I'm gonna check in.
You could share, you guys have a wall, right? A Rise wall? Like your profile? You have
Yes.
a Rise profile?
No.
They do. Rise does.
Rise has a profile? Okay. You can share the profile, and then you can write a comment about it. You could just rave about it on your personal feed. You could share it on other social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter. There's a lot of things you can do.
Okay, well, why don't you all just do me a favor if you're willing to, and just rave about us on Facebook for now, and then let's see what else happens. Do you know how to do all those other ones, like Twitter and all that other stuff?
Yep.
Okay, well, one of the things you might be able to do for trade is help us with that.
Okay.
I've got one person doing it, but my sense is I might need more than one person,
Oh, yeah.
you know? It's too much work for one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna need a social media coordinator.
Okay, I'm good.
Let's put some social media music.
network music. That's in,
Right.
that's in the list.
So,
Of course it is.
Ennis,
Ennis, I know. Music.
Social media music.
it's there.
It's 'cause it's on a special.
Mind if I close the door or turn your music off?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, close the door, or
Yes.
turn the music off. I mean, you can just pause it.
so,
I am the generation that has fallen
Do
through
you
the
need help?
cracks.
oh, stop. My kids, I think I know so much about technology, and my kids.
Oh, I was calling my son from here, Tyler, help me. Just we're trying to get this. He's my little tech guy. Not little, he's 30.
Yeah.
God, he's gonna get bored.
Yeah, Danielle, that's perfect.
Did you see it?
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Okay, so it's just gonna tag that you're here,
Okay.
and it will show their information, so you don't need to worry about that, so you can just put what you wanna put.
So
You know,
wait, did you put-
when John Denver did the EST workshop, he wrote
Rise,
this
and then
song.
you attached it to me?
And he
Oh,
captured
okay.
Yeah,
the
so
S
when you
training
say whatever you
in 3
say, when you
paragraphs.
post it, it's gonna show.
It's
On my
genius.
side and their side?
No, just yours.
Oh.
I'm the one responsible, I made it just this way, you know?
I said getting my.
Welcome to my morning. I'm the one responsible, I made it just this way.
Who it is?
No, I do have it, but sometimes I feel like people read this and they're not really in touch with themselves. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like cult. Sorry, that's not where I'm coming
No.
from.
That's-
It's just,
yeah,
you know, it depends on
absolutely.
how uptight people are and not in tune with themselves that
That's
they
why
can
I
think
share
that.
that on Instagram, because there's a lot of new age people that are looking for that technology there. I've got a ton of people that follow me that are really into that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm more active on Facebook. Instagram, I like to like follow people. Not really-
Instagram is like where you find all the people that are looking for the thing. They're looking for change, you know. I don't know. I'm not on Facebook that often, but
Yeah, John Denver was huge in the 70s,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Stuff is big.
I was really sad when he died.
I remember when
Yeah, me too.
When John Lennon died, I cried for like 3 days. I'd be driving along and all of a sudden I'd remember he died and I just burst into tears.
What year did he die?
I don't remember. I believe that John Denver and Diana, on a spiritual level, may have chosen to die early, knowing that they would get 1 billion people to pray at the same moment and the effect that would have on the planet.
Did you say Diana? Oh,
Princess Diana.
Princess
Diana.
Diana.
he died in 1980.
Denver?
No, Lennon.
19.
I think that was President Reagan got shot in
He died in 1980.
Okay.
December.
Didn't he just die before I was born?
No, December.
That's where it's at.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I'm right.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to do an NLP exercise with you. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And Bandler and Grindler studied 3 of the top people in the world. And because of what they knew about neuroscience, they began to realize that these 3 top therapists were doing some special stuff, and they caught it, that when the eyes look up, people are getting a picture. When the eyes look side to side, they're talking to themselves. When the eyes look down, they're getting a feeling or a body sensation. And from that discovery, they created a science that is really helpful in terms of healing and reprogramming, called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And so, to do this quick little exercise, you want to take an event any time in your life that was either traumatic or devastating, or something that you'd like to just erase or transform, okay? So everybody, think of a moment in your life that you'd like to transform, and then raise your hand when you have it so I can start. Did you hear me, Sue?
I did, and I'm
Okay.
thinking.
Okay. Okay, good. Terrific. Okay, now, I want you to play the scene in your mind's eye in slow motion, okay? Except you're gonna play the whole thing, and everybody in the scene that happened to you is gonna have big heads, like 3 times the size of their normal head, like a big balloon, okay? So play the whole scene. When you get to the end, raise your hand. When you get to the end, just raise your hand and put it back down again. Good. Did you raise your hand?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, does anybody remember what the Keystone Cops are? Okay. They're an old movie, like when movies very first started, in black and white. They would have these cops, and they would go like in fast motion, like really fast, okay? So now you're gonna take the same movie and go from the very end back to the beginning, only you're gonna have them move incredibly fast. Everybody in the movie, okay? Do that. Then when you get back to the beginning, raise your hand and put it back down again. When you get back to the beginning, raise your hand and put it down again so I can see how the room's doing. Okay, good. Now, go from the beginning to the end, only this time, everybody is gonna be rainbow colored. Okay, from the beginning to the end, and then raise your hand when you get to the end again. Good. Now, remind me, are you at the beginning or at the end now?
And
At the end, okay, now you're gonna go back to the beginning, only this time, everybody in the scene is gonna be, their bodies are gonna be like in those circus mirrors, where they're all distorted and everything else, okay? So take it from the end back to the beginning. When you get to the beginning, then raise your hand and put it back down again. Good. Good. Okay, now you're gonna go from the beginning to the end, only this time, everybody in the visual is gonna be leprechauns. Okay? Go from the beginning to the end, raise your hand when you're done. Good. Great. Now, share with me what you notice about how that affected your experience of this moment in your life.
This is the second time I've done this exercise with this particular moment. And when I got to the space where we were doing the rainbows, I was going through, and at some point, like, the whole thing was just a rainbow, was just color, like,
Yeah.
the people were going. So the next time when you were saying, now go back from the end to the beginning, my mind couldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
I was really trying to remember, and especially the part where everything was just one color, one rainbow color. I'm having a hard time remembering
Yeah.
what happened at that particular moment,
Good.
which just left me with the feeling of feeling good
Yeah.
instead of.
Acknowledge. Okay, Sue?
Well, I was doing it, then every time we were doing it, it was just kind of making it less and less tangible, and I
Yeah.
couldn't make the people were there, but they just didn't fit into that,
Yeah.
situation anymore.
Yeah.
And
So,
it was
so
kind of-
what's the effect it has on you? Like, what's the difference in how you feel about that moment now as compared to before we did this?
I don't know if I wanna say not as real, but not as, stressful for me as
Yes.
it was when
That's
it
right.
was real.
That's right. That's right. Acknowledge. Anybody else? Okay, Danielle.
It just kind of made me feel like it was my own experience and people around me weren't really connected to my personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, acknowledge. Anybody else? Okay, so what you just did is a 101 tool in reprogramming. It's a very simple demonstration of how you're the one who creates your reality. You're the one who creates your story. Regardless of what anybody else does to you, you interpret it. You create it. You make up what it means, because it doesn't really mean anything except what you create it to mean. And a more advanced tool than that would be like embracing the brat or empowerment dialogue. And the ultimate healing and reprogramming tool is, or the best I've found in studying 30 different disciplines and over 40 years, is the awakening style breakthrough. That's the most healing and reprogramming tool.
Okay, but, and that's all good and fine, but I still, and maybe it's just I still feel sometimes the pain that I caused that no. Okay, so it went away for me, but I still feel like, those people that I affected, I still have that guilt.
Yeah.
Or that bad feeling that I hurt them.
Right.
So then I feel selfish that I'm like, okay, I'm over it, but I still left it with them. Is it their work to get over it?
No. Well, I mean, yes, but there is real guilt, especially when you think you've hurt somebody, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And even though most times when people say guilt, they're talking about unexpressed resentment, but there is real guilt.
Right.
And there are very specific tools, like for example, are those people still alive?
Yeah,
And are you in communication with them?
yes.
Have you ever talked to them about it and apologized or cleaned up your side of the mess?
I don't know. I mean, it happened when they were so little. It was my kids. They were so little. I don't even know if they remember it or if it affected them the way it
That's not what I
affects
asked you.
them. I don't know.
Have
Oh.
you ever?
I don't remember if I have or
cleaned-
not,
Okay,
to be honest with you.
I would say no,
Okay, now.
because you're not complete. You still carry that crap around with you.
Oh, I see. So if I do make amends.
There
with
is
them-
no mess you have ever made in your life that you cannot clean up and get complete and resolved,
Okay,
okay?
yes.
All you have to do is go to them, acknowledge it, tell them how sorry you are, you know, and we actually have a document that we give everybody in Spirit of the Awakened Warrior that shows them exactly the steps to do so they can absolutely clean up any mess, doesn't matter what it is, okay? And if you want to notice how it works, like let's say that one of these people died,
Mhm.
and people always make it up that, oh my goodness, I never got a chance to apologize or whatever. Well, all you have to do is put a chair in front of you, put the person who crossed over in the chair, and then say everything you've got to say, then switch chairs and be them and have a dialogue back and forth, and you can get absolutely complete and resolved.
Does that same thing work if they hurt you and they're dead?
Yep.
And you're mad at them
Yep.
for that? Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
Because the relationship is not in them.
No,
It's in you.
Right, or me.
Right,
Okay.
That's right. I had a gal who had a serious drug problem. And when I got her down to what was driving it, it was that when she was, some bad guys talked her into bringing a guy around the corner, and then they shot him. And she felt like she was the one who brought him to that. And so, of course, she felt really guilty, and, you know, guilt and shame is what drives a lot of drug problems, if not most of them, okay? And once she talked to him, doing empowerment dialogue, and really cleaned up her side of the mess and got him to forgive her, she's done, she's complete, she's resolved. Or I've had people who forgot to fix a window when they bought a new house on the second floor, and the 3-year-old or 2-year-old fell out the window and died, and so the parents feel like they killed their own daughter. And she absolutely got complete and resolved once she had a conversation and got forgiven by the daughter. I had a guy who murdered somebody in Vietnam because he was black and the sergeant was prejudiced from the South, and, you know, just rode him like crazy. So when they're alone in the jungle, he realized nobody's around, so he just shot him, okay? And he also had a drug problem. And so then we do a dialogue, and I said, look around the room and pick somebody who in any way, shape, or form reminds you of your sergeant. He looked around, he didn't see anybody, and at that exact moment, a new assistant walked in the room. He goes, oh, him. So I had the assistant come and role play with him, and he role played with him, and he asked the guy what he could do to make amends, and then he played that part, and the guy told him exactly how he wanted him to live his life, and it was beautiful. Everybody was in tears. It was so beautiful. And then at dinner time, the guy who played his sergeant was at a table with about 5 of us. And he said, you want to hear something really weird? I've had 3 different psychics tell me that in my previous life, I was shot in Vietnam. And we counted the years, and he was born the year after that happened.
Oh, wow, that is so incredible.
You know, coincidence?
No. So not. Right? Okay, but how does the daughter who fell out the window forgive the person when it's not really the daughter forgiving you, it's yourself forgiving you?
Well, you don't know that. I believe that when people put somebody in the chair who's crossed over,
Yeah.
that person is called to inspire them.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense.
And I don't know, maybe they're just making it up, but it doesn't matter. The point is, God doesn't want you to walk around with shame and guilt. God wants you to be in joy and not be stuck and get on with your life. You think God wants you to walk around life with your tail between your legs?
No.
No. It's a great question, Sue. Thank you for the question of knowledge.
Thanks. Okay, this resonated the best with me so far, what you just said.
Good job, Grace.
Good job, Mary.
You might finally be getting it cracking me.
Oh.
Well, that's a huge accomplishment.
It is, because it makes me feel better too.
Okay. Now, do me a favor, Trent. Stop the video and start it again for this next section, because the last time I did this, I was on fire, and in case I'm on fire again, I want to be able to send it to people.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't know when when was the last workshop I did this, the part about dream makers, and I was on fire. Was that the last blast off? Can we find,
Yeah, we have it.
we have it? Well, I want to find it and get it to me so I can email it to certain people,
Okay.
you know?
Hold on.
Thank you. So this process that I'm going to do with you is from the retreat, the Awakening Retreat, okay? And the title of the process is called Dream Makers, but the subtitle is The Greatest Key to Leverage Your Vision, okay? The greatest key to leverage your vision is what I call higher purpose, okay? Now, if you do not have a higher purpose for your life, the way Werner says it is that you need a context for your life. Context would be like the jar, and the circumstances of your life would be like the marbles in the jar. So, is it a good day or a bad day? Oh, I got fired. Oh, that's a bad day. Oh, I got a raise. Oh, that's a good day. See, as long as you're focused on the content of your life, if you don't have a context, then what determines the quality of your life is the circumstances. Good or bad, up and down, okay? So when you create a higher purpose as a context for your life, something bigger than, quote, my life, it's like before you do that, you're on the edge of a river and you keep eddying out. You keep going around the same. Oh, you know what? Bring them in. Bring them in. They can clear later.
We just stop and start again.
No. We've already got a chair for you. So without a higher purpose as a context for your life, what happens is you're on the edge of a river and you keep eddying out over the same problems. You know, right about late 20s, 30s, you start to realize, gee, my love life is kind of the same thing. My money is kind of the same thing. You start realizing the patterns, okay? Because you keep eddying out over the same issues again and again and again and again. When you have a higher purpose, you start to move away from the edge of the river and you start to make real movement forward. You keep moving toward the center of the river, where the water is the clearest and the deepest and the fastest. The closer you get to the center of the river, the more you are aligning with universal forces. Instead of working really hard to make things happen, the people and the resources that can catapult your vision come to you. Because you're aligning with universal forces. Now, success, quite simply, is doing what works. If you find any support system that empowers you to do what works, you'll be successful. To what ends? The purpose of inner work is to empower people to show up and shine. For what? Why do we want people to show up and shine? To be a gift. The deepest need that human beings have is to know that, quote, I count, that I matter, that I actually make a real difference. So the purpose of showing up and shining is to be a gift. The purpose of life is to learn, to grow. The purpose of learning is to teach. Now, money success can be extremely gratifying, and I've worked with a lot of very successful people. But money and success cannot bring you fulfillment, satisfaction, or peace. If you focus on making money without a higher context, a higher purpose, it's like grabbing the fruit off of the tree of life and forgetting to water the tree of life. You know, when I started taking on percentage clients, you know, where I would get a percentage of the increase, I started doing that because I took a millionaire from $1 million a year to $7, $8 million a year by helping him fill up the holes in his bucket of his love life. So I started doing percentage clients. And I had some real successes, but I found out it was much easier to get them to blow up their income than it was to get them to hold on to the money. It's amazing how when people start to make a lot of money, how hard it is for them to hold on to it. Anybody ever seen those shows with Oprah where she
Yeah.
showed all the people who won the lottery, like millions of dollars, and then within a year or two it's gone?
I know people like that.
Right.
I do.
Right. Now, watering the tree of life is to be a gift, to serve, and to serve a higher purpose, bigger than, quote, my life. And to serve the highest purpose. See, a higher purpose would like, I want to work with prisoners, or I want to work with children, or I want to work with the elderly, or whatever, okay? That's a higher purpose. The highest purpose is one that includes the whole. Like a world that works for everyone, a world where everyone wins, a world where everyone knows unconditional love. You've gotta say it in a way that includes the whole. It doesn't leave anyone out, because until you do that, you're still supporting the old paradigm for the planet. You know, if you know anything about history, you know that what history is a story where my tribe wants the resources, wants the food, the land, whatever, and your tribe wants the resources, so our warriors go over and kill your warriors, and we get the food or the land or whatever, and then your children, your tribe's children grow up and come over and kill our warriors, and then our children grow up and go over and kill your warriors, and that's history.
That sounds very
The,
familiar.
the whole of history is you or me. And as Werner Erhard made very clear, the greatest opportunity of our age, of our time, is to transform the context for humanity from you or me to you and me. You know, the Nobel laureates proved, same with Buckminster Fuller, that we have the resources for everybody on the planet Earth to be a billionaire. And you know what we're missing? The reason why 15 children die every minute that you and I breathe? The reason is because we don't have the will. We don't want to yet. Now, when you take on the highest purpose and in your own words say, you know, however you say it, a world where everyone wins, however you want to say it, okay? Remember I told you about the 3x5 cards? And I said, you know, on the top line, above, you know, you divide it in half, and above it you have a dream for your love life and a dream for your, you know, spiritual life, whatever, you know. And on the bottom line you put the same higher purpose on every card, however you say it. Mine is heaven on earth. So, when you make what you wake up for, what you have conversations for, what you go to work for, what you go and play for, your highest purpose and context, You now become a voice for the sacred. And what speaks through you will move mountains. In my own experience, there was a time when Eli got beat up by a gang, and I had to lead a workshop that night, and I was shaking. I was so, and I called a couple of people to see if they could take over the workshop that night, a couple of my facilitators, and they couldn't. They were tied up. So I called some of Eli's friends and had them come over and hang out with him and be with him, and I went to do the workshop, and I was still shaking. And I said, because of my higher purpose, I'm going to put all of my shaking into this workshop, and it's going to be the best workshop ever. And it was. Another time, I was on the way to the awakening when on I-15, right as it goes to turn into I-80, right, every car was stopped dead. And I slammed on my brakes, and the guy behind me didn't see it. So he slammed in the back of me. I had to swerve to miss, and I went like 3 or 4 cars up. You know what I mean? So my car was totaled. Now, while the cops are talking to me about, this, I'm on the phone talking to people about what to do till I get there to handle the awakening, okay? And I'm not even focused on this car being devastated. You know what I mean? It's a pain in the butt, but I will handle that. Later on, I'll deal with it. I don't care about the car. I'm going to create heaven on earth. So if you don't have a higher purpose, you are literally a victim of your circumstances. Is it a good day? Oh, did you have a good circumstance? Is it a bad day? Did you have a bad circumstance? You are a victim of your circumstances. That's why my leaders don't let anything stop them. Because without a commitment to a purpose and agreements to that purpose that are bigger than your fight and flight mind, you're always a victim of this. Everything stops you. So, what will last of your gift when you're gone? What will be your legacy? How much love and light can you give before your time is up? How good can you stand it? How good can you stand it? It's so interesting, when I talk like this, people make it up that when I talk about higher purpose, they have a lot of crazy considerations come in. Wilbur gets busy and, oh, he's saying I've got to move to Africa and give up all my goods and be Albert Schweitzer and, No. I'm not saying that you have to do anything different than you're doing right now, except click a switch in your head. It's just a switch in your head. It's just a different way of thinking. Make the same things you're doing now about heaven on earth or a world that works for everyone, whatever your higher purpose is. Do what you do as if that vision depends on it. Do we have the Joseph Grenny video? Okay. Let's play that. And see if you can get the volume up, because last time they did it, the volume wouldn't work. So this is an interview. My favorite success story of all time, so far anyway, has been that that when Joseph Grenny and Ron McMillan came to the Awakening, they loved the process I'm doing with you right now called Dream Makers. That was their favorite process. So when it was over, Joseph and Ron created a thing called, actually Joseph created a thing called Unitas. they looked around for a higher purpose that they could really believe in. And they found Muhammad Yunus giving little $5 and $10 loans to people in India. And they found out that with a $5 loan, the person who was in poverty could actually buy their own materials to make their stools with and bring their family out of poverty.
Microloans.
Microloans.
Super successful.
Right, okay. Well, Joseph Glennie and Ron McMillan and their partners decided they would make his work, instead of being in India, they would take it international. So this is the interview I did with, this is part of the interview I did with Joseph about that. Go ahead.
You know, Joseph, I'm so inspired by our conversation today, and I realize that what I try to do in my work is influence people to be able to empower themselves and take on whatever vision makes their heart sing, whatever their mission is, whatever their vision, whatever it is they want to do with their dreams in their life. And I know that creating a higher context for your life is really the leverage. It takes people from the edge of the river where they keep eddying out year after year, learning over the same old problems, and it starts to move them out to the center of the river, where we say that the water is clearest and the deepest, and it moves the fastest, and it really moves you toward what it is that you want to do. And I'm so inspired by our conversation today, because I really wish that everybody who comes through my work could see what is possible for all of us. That when people like yourself say, I have an intention, I have a vision, I have something I want to accomplish, and you know what, it is doable, it is possible, and then have the courage to start taking those steps and using those strategies to make that change, to change whatever it is that they want to change in their lives, to influence themselves, and then be able to influence other people. I'm inspired, and I hope everybody gets the idea that that not only through your book, but through other things, that we can all take on these kinds of visions and go out there and make this kind of shift in the world, because I feel like this energy is now sweeping the planet, and it's really our privilege to just be a part of the energy and the movement and the birth that is happening at this particular moment on our planet. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's been an inspiration.
I'm grateful for the early influence you've been on me. And
Yeah.
This for me is an opportunity to express back to you, as I look back over 20 years or so of our association, the deep affection I have for you, the respect I have for your integrity in your work, and for having blessed my life. So if I've accomplished anything, I owe much of it to some of the early influence that you had on me. Thank you very much.
Oh, it means the world to me. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
After I say this. So, how do you think it makes me feel to know that I had something to do, anything to do, with 12 million people coming out of poverty?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Now, God brought Ron McMillan and Joseph Glennie to me. Matter of fact, God had my dad help start Job Corps in Clearfield, and Ron McMillan was my next door neighbor. We became best friends throughout high school. Okay? Now, when I'm gone and you are teaching people in workshops like this, or whatever version you do, God will bring you people like Joseph Glennie who will make a difference by you showing up shining and being the gift that you came to be. So, first, take out a pen and a paper and write down your highest purpose. However you say, a world that works for everyone. Your words. And when you get done with that, get a partner and share it with them.
Looking for more like a complete sentence or more your purpose stated in a few words?
A sentence that says your words for a world that works for everyone, or heaven on earth, or a world where everyone wins, however you say it.
Okay.
Okay? Huh? Yeah, go ahead. That's a good idea. And then after the song, you can stop it and start it again.
What's your word specifically? A specific word that represents the clue. Do you call everybody? Do you call the world? Do you call so connection.
As soon as you're done writing out your sentence, share with a partner any thoughts or feelings. Leo, you can pair up with Danielle when she's done writing.
So what's your highest rating for emotions?
Sentence or purpose.
So this all over the world projects to culture, accepting, so connect, so let's get accept, connecting and esteem.
Okay. What about it?
A world.
Mine is world where
You're saying a
everyone
phrase, oh, I see, oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
rising by lifting themselves up.
Of connection.
I think that's something that everyone deserves. And the world needs, of course.
Still say that needs to come, but my dream is a world where everyone gets
Interesting wording. Interesting wording, but.
embrace
Interesting wording.
All persons, I gotcha.
Yeah, so
Support this. I didn't want to knock off center. So I rode through it, like, just trying to take center as possible, just straight up. But this individual question, like, straight line.
And this, I also believe not only is it world, not just the mom, but just
oh, that's great.
parents, generationally. Everybody deserves to get a healing. No one being left out. Texas is a center where a whole family can come.
My car broke down this one
And we do
house.
breakthroughs on that family, like as a
He was like
collective.
a girlfriend of a buddy I had. And I've been kind of staying there because my mom
Everyone
said that
comes and
like
feels.
bedroom generation.
Yeah,
Really
just had this conversation the other day.
way like, you know, when you're like, let's check this is wrong. Person, there was never.
Everyone,
My door's locked. What's that?
I think you'd like that show.
If you've seen
I've
it,
seen
great.
it, yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
it. So
good.
then, since I've seen it, so then where are you going with that?
Do art and shine.
You gonna prepare for that answer?
I
Someone
think
who has
Asian
it, I haven't
art
seen it ready to go.
are very different.
Completely.
How is it that people, was that you, this
I
is
just-
so extremely different in our culture?
He
so
does
extreme.
remind me
How did that
so
happen?
much.
How come? Both live on the same planet.
Because you lose yourself,
Both live
you
on
know?
land, both are exposed to water, you
Where is
know what I
that?
mean?
Yeah.
So
It's
how
a
is
song.
it that we're so different?
You just said lose yourself and then
And then-
bam, again, mic drop.
It's like this, the history of
Take,
culture.
take from it what you will.
It's so,
Take-
so incredibly.
Don't even try that.
I'll
No,
let
don't
you.
even
I'll
try
let
that.
you.
Don't even try that.
I'm
I
not
am the
trying to
master of those
attack
mind
you,
games.
if that's what you're getting.
I am the master of those mind games, girl. I see right
I
through you.
always
Try it. Yeah, don't try that.
imagine.
That take from it where you will. That might work
I'm
on
the person of power.
your young husband, but this man over here is read right through. So,
All languages.
elaborate.
What you say.
I just got a feeling that you should watch it.
Chinese,
And watch it.
Yiddish.
Let's write that down. I'm
So,
a person of
please tell
power.
me what your.
I just thought you would like it.
No, I do like especially that battle, like 1 pop, 2 pop, 3 pop, 4. So like, you pop
I
none.
am.
Who can, who
So you pop
can be
none.
received in
I think
that one, who can speak
I think it was
back.
No, I'd love for you to tell me like how you.
What, just like a fighter? Like he's just a fighter?
Like what?
He's just
Yeah.
like,
In all languages.
you know, he let things get to him, let
And I
things get
can,
to him.
and I can understand the languages, which
And then
doesn't,
when he
like,
got to
speak
the very
English, but they
bottom,
all know
when
what
there
he's
was like
saying.
enough spots speaking,
You know?
Yeah, because you don't just wanna own your voice.
No.
You wanna
Changes
own your
the
voice in
industry.
such a way where you're a person of power.
and
no
you
matter
get to
who you're
listen to
speaking
me now. They understand exactly.
But I
You
understand that
get
too.
to he understands,
You
and
know,
you
such
understand.
joy, ways that we received in all languages and
You could be like, I just think you're slim and treaty. That was wonderful, thank you. That was awesome. I appreciate that. Your mom's the same thing too.
Yes, and receiving. So,
So,
you know how we were talking about yesterday, how you don't know what
you
you're
know, I just use
you
your.
don't know what the stuff you're gonna get us right.
This is the this is the most resonant.
Right.
Okay.
No,
So you're
I'm sorry,
saying you
yeah.
don't know what you want, right?
Right, right.
Okay, I want you to look at this process right here
Yeah.
that we just did.
Yeah, she's
And this
working
was
on
really
this.
short, so it did take you like
We're gonna be
3
held
minutes to write this
No,
out.
because I'm letting myself.
And
listen.
now you know
Not
exactly
anymore.
what you're doing.
Just trust.
It's gonna serve the highest good, not
So,
the
so here's what you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I
Draw down.
literally, there was a
Uh-huh.
time in my life where I wanted to be, where I
And
hated
then you
it.
just
I wanted to go study law, go into a free practice, and just
like
be
what
a
we did,
public
we were just
defender.
talking
Oh, no, you
about,
won't.
right?
Right.
And
So
then
great.
and then you use
Because
them for words that
I'm
actually
going
pack
through
a
my
punch
own
so
phase
it
where
isn't
I'm
generating connection.
And
And culture, it's accepting and embracing
people to do
Right.
that,
right?
and are fighting.
So when you know, I want to,
Like
I want to be a, you know, what do I want,
But
right?
then there's a flip
Like,
side,
which
and I
job
think
do I
it's
want?
actually my
That's
true
a
calling
good
is
question.
to help
Yeah, I'm.
the person. So I understand, and you write, here you are.
Okay, wrap it up.
And then you take those jobs and you describe them, and which.
Any shares?
At least for me, it's good.
Elisa?
Just that everybody on the planet deserves to heal. Like, whole families deserve to heal together. And both those who hurt and were hurt deserve healing. Like,
Yes.
it's kind of divided out
Yes.
and kind of based on whoever gets the most support.
Yes.
But it deserves
Yeah.
to be that everyone on the planet deserves healing, and I see just like a whole garden, like flowers and like,
Yeah.
in schools we're taught like talent development instead of other stuff.
Yes.
So every child grows up looking for what makes them unique and special and just playing in that.
Mhm. Yes, thank you, acknowledged. Yeah, when this information was downloaded to me a long time ago, I had a moment when I was doing a workshop and this 10-foot tall person stepped inside of me, and my eyes were literally looking from the ceiling, okay? When I got home, Lori was at my apartment, and she answered the door, and the moment I saw her, I burst into tears, and I had a vision of what was gonna happen. And I saw, like, you know how kids have Nintendo or, you know what I mean, Xbox. And computers would be like tablets, and then they'd put a little credit card program in, and a holographic Tony Robbins or Gary or whatever would be taking them through stuff like Breakthroughs at the Awakening, you know what I mean? And I had a lot of other visions, and that is now the visualization that we do at the Awakening after this process. At the end of the day, when I do the visualization about sending your love to, you know, your relatives and the countries and the people who run the money, you know what I mean, and the abusers, you know what I mean? That whole vision that whole visualization came out of that vision.
Would you say you achieve your Kundalini by doing so? Because they say when you achieve that Kundalini awakening, that you have this perspective of, you know, it's like 17 inches above your head or something like that. I mean,
I did that when I was doing the 4 steps, and my God self would show up. That was the Kundalini. This was different, and I honestly don't know what it was. It was just this 10-foot tall Gary that showed up, you know.
yeah.
I have no clue what it was.
When I hear my higher self is 13 too, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how individuals go to a counseling appointment, and they work on themselves, and then they try to take them to family. I just see like a whole family going to a counseling appointment.
Yes.
And then getting to do like connected breath together.
Yes.
And doing generational healing together.
Yes.
And doing awakening style breakthroughs side by side together. And like individually but together in
Yes.
the same room. Like that would be a lot more effective than just trying to pick it, you know,
Yeah.
parts of the whole.
Yeah. Which is a great reason why you want to keep getting safe enough to show up and shine, because you could be doing that.
I love the whole idea of, teaching children. I mean, that is like our future. And it just blows my mind that the school systems don't teach this kind of stuff to the children. It's like insanity. I'm 36, and my kids are learning the exact same principles I learned when I was their age, and it's like, has it really not changed in 30 years?
There's an article yesterday about elementary school that was doing meditations in detention with like fantastic
Yes.
results. As you can imagine, so
It's happening all over
education
the
needs to-
country.
It's
gonna
happening
evolve.
slower than that needs to.
It's happening as a prevention instead of as, but that's where it starts.
It's picking up pace though.
It's
you know,
changing the
It's
prevention.
happening how
Doing
it's supposed to
damage
be.
control instead of
Yeah.
having that be the intention.
You know, one of my first jobs in Salt Lake was working for Marmalade Hill School, and the very first awakening was with students from first grade on up through high school, and teachers and parents of that school. I mean, Zeph, 6 foot, whatever he is, 9 or something, he was this high at Marmalade Hill School when I was teaching Gestalt. You know?
That's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do, ancestors and descendants right now. What I want you to know is that I don't have time to tell you all the stories, you're gonna have to take it on faith, but I want you to know that your ancestors and descendants who are in the spirit realm can do much more for you than anybody on earth, okay? So uncross your arms and your legs, sit up straight but not stiff. I just want you to take about a minute and set your intention that your ancestors and descendants will have direct access to any value that you've experienced this weekend and today. Set your intention that your ancestors and descendants will have direct access to any value that you experienced today and this weekend. thank you. Okay, I want to check with Sue and Leo to see if you guys are feeling open to the idea of moving to Mastery or not, so I can know how I structure the rest of the day. Okay?
So I made a decision before I left yesterday, but I got a little bit of flair for the dramatic. But yesterday, when you were talking about midday or so, I looked up at the sign and well, prior to looking up the sign, I asked God if that's the direction I should go, because what you said was absolutely fundamental in my, like, evolving and getting going is where I need support in my structure, because I don't have it from any other direction, right? And so, I read the sign, and it says, what makes your heart truly sing? And at that moment that I look up and read it, you said the same words. So that was my answer, immediately, synchronicity. And so, since I learned to listen to that and not dismiss it, and, I've asked for it, it's kind of flooded in, so it's nice to have that. So, absolutely had made a decision to do Movement to Mastery right that moment.
Good. And have you read the second part of the requirements?
No, I have not. Yeah, so, that was part of the resume I didn't say, I would say.
We're gonna take a break in a moment, so do yourself a favor and do that.
Certainly.
So that you know exactly what you're getting into, because we can't really do an interview until you've got all that handled and, you know what I mean?
Right, so that was the.
Okay.
That was the reason for that.
And if you do the interview with Laura, you'll pay her $100. If you can't pay everything for Movement to Mastery up front, okay? And if not, then we'll see if one of the other people are willing to do an interview for less than that. It depends on who you get. And I'll see if we can find somebody who will do that with you, okay? Great.
Sounds good. And that's actually, a question I wanted to ask you, it relates to my situation this morning, relates to my home situation, it relates to kind of how things are crumbling apart, is I've proudly and faithfully been doing inner work daily. Like almost all my free time is gone to inner work, right? I research, I study, I meditate, I've cleared a lot, I've become so much more centered, done so much old stuff, had some profound traumatic experiences of, healing my inner child, some really wonderful things. My vibration just skyrocketed, right? And often is. That has caused me to push away from my family, first of all, and many people like me, because now it's like when I'm around them, I'm always calm and centered, despite, whatever, and they treat me and look at me and act around me totally different, and it's made me, that's kind of what happened this morning, is because yesterday I left here so, refreshed and me again, that when I went to be with the person that I've been spending time with, they had an exceptionally difficult day, I had an exceptionally wonderful day, and their hostility, skyrocketed, and this morning all manifested in a way of, with her being like, oh, Mr. Perfect kind of thing, right? But, so my question to you is this: how do you deal with your vibration having that effect, around those who aren't there yet? And how have you been throughout the course of the years? Do you just typically tend to stay isolated, except for those for sure are on the same path? But eventually you can't avoid, that too much, because my own family is just nowhere near there. So that's the fundamental basis of my problems that I have right now is.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Well, you'll get a lot of support with that in Movement to Mastery, and there are very specific skills. Like, I think Sue was asking me a similar question yesterday, and I was talking about how the Bridge seminar, there are certain things in Movement to Mastery that are specifically geared toward that. How do you relate to people who, don't have a clue? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I will say something about your friend, okay? When I was King of the Wimps, all I attracted was people who were users and abusers. You know what I mean?
Yes, narcissistic.
And, because I was a sheep, I was attracting the wolves, right? Now, as I got more assertive, then I would attract different people.
Well, see, I'm a wolf, though, and I present myself as such and known as such. Never been known as a sheep. Well, not like for at least, my adulthood. So,
Okay.
me, it's sheep that come, or wolf that come disguised as sheep, but I mean, they. you
I
know.
don't mean, I'm using a metaphor.
Yeah, I feel you,
You are attracting, the friend you talked about this morning,
Mhm.
you've attracted her for very specific reasons. Your nonsense and her nonsense fits like a glove. All couples,
She's not, definitely not a couple situation.
well, I don't care, friend,
Caring friend, yeah, but.
I don't care. The point is, she's in your life, and she's doing her nonsense. And I'm saying her nonsense or his nonsense fits with yours perfectly. She wouldn't even be in your life unless, she can't hook you unless you've got a place for the hook.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, as you grow, especially with certain skills, those people will literally just fall away. And new people will show up.
Right.
Like at one point out of CEDU, I remember I went into the front office when I first got here. I was 21, working at a school. And the girl at the office started to dump guilt. She was good at dumping guilt on everybody. And I remember looking at her going, wow, it's been so long since anybody dumped guilt on me. Because that wasn't in my life anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. If people in your life are giving you crap, there's a very specific reason why part of you wants that crap.
So what do you do about it?
You change you. You grow. You honor your truth. You don't sell out. You don't wimp out. You don't give in. You don't go along with. You don't tolerate. You don't put up with. You be you. You be true.
Can I share something?
And if you don't know how to do that, you learn as fast as you can how to do that.
Can I share something about
No, I'm gonna keep moving on with him.
Therein lies my problem to putting other people first than myself, and they're succumbing.
Bingo!
So-
Do me a favor, say that 3 times, and every time you say it, I want you to pause and then notice what you notice. Okay, so say that again. That was
Try to
perfect.
say exactly, as I said it, correct me if I'm wrong, I have put other people first too much. I have
Now
put other
notice,
people first.
hold on.
Yes.
Say it, then pause, notice what you notice, then say it again.
I have put other people first too much. I have put other people first too much. I have put other people first too much.
So I suspect one of your new skills in Movement to Mastery is to put yourself first and to learn how to say that to people so they don't, so that you break the contract you've got with the people who are mistreating you.
Okay?
When people are mistreating you, it's a contract between you and them. The only way to get them not to mistreat you is to break the contract.
It's-
Like
it's
I was,
difficult to, embody a Christ consciousness type of state while maintaining,
putting
that
other people
sometimes
first
works.
is not a Christ-conscious state. Selling out is not a Christ-conscious state. Giving in, going along with, selling out, betraying your truth is not Christ consciousness.
certainly.
It's wimpy bullshit.
With family members is the one that becomes more difficult with, that one. the one-
Especially with
more.
family
Yeah.
members. Family is like crabs.
Sorry.
Families is like crabs in a bucket. If one of them tries to rise to higher ground, the others pull them down.
Yeah, exactly.
Family is more threatened of you getting to higher ground than anybody.
Right. Yes.
Isn't that sad? We should be supporting each other. We treat our family members worse than we treat our.
Yeah, one day we'll be there. I'm proud of you, Leo. Way to go. Okay, when we take a break, make sure you look through all that stuff, okay? Okay, Sue?
I'm open to it, but I just can't do it now.
Because of financial.
It really is because of that.
I got it. So just keep in mind, when we do Movement to Mastery, many of the meetings have open to guests for the first, until the break.
Mhm.
So you can come for free,
Mhm.
get a lot of that information, and, you know, and you can always assist at pretty much every course. There's only a couple you can't,
Okay,
for 2 full shifts.
okay.
And Alice is always looking for people who will come and assist and, you know, like that.
That's my plan, is just to start and
Yeah.
come and start with the guests, and
Yeah.
then everything else will fall in place.
And the other thing too is remember that when you're signed up in Movement to Mastery, you're making your monthly payment, but you can put in time instead of money to trade off, I think it's 1/3 of it now.
Yeah, I was
which
reading about it.
Makes the payment a lot less. Also, you might check out Lori's program, because her program is a shorter term program and it's less money.
Okay,
It's less of a monthly payment, you know, that kind of thing.
okay.
Okay, good. Okay, 15-minute break.
When we were working on this, whoops, when we were working on this,
I can do it.
you started to
Not in the
like
system.
more breakdown on how.
Robin.
That's how I was
I
yesterday.
was tired
Robin
this
is
morning.
our responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, so I'm
Okay,
not sure, I'm
sure.
like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm
Jump on music.
You're gonna put your-
Alice, is it okay?
I'm bad.
Yes, that's great. Thank you, sweetheart. Lisa, can you do time, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. So put your, just write your eyes.
15?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can start to describe, so we can write actually.
Well, I'm writing the
Yeah,
temporary.
we'll write the script, the script,
Yeah,
or the
the
checklist.
adjectives
You
of-
know, Just like it, of self.
Of self, okay.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you're doing one. Okay?
Trent says the live stream's offline.
Oh,
Trent?
Uh-oh.
But
Trent
Okay.
says the live stream is
Live stream
offline.
is off.
Oh, she knows, did you not hear me? Down here.
So we didn't miss.
She might be on the online screen.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
These represent the decisions.
we didn't miss
This is the looking, this is the decision to go
Is
left,
that a
this is the
recent
decision to
message
go
or is
right,
that a not
right?
recent message?
10:43?
And for right now, it's your job,
No,
right?
no, we got it.
So whatever decision.
Oh, she says back on.
Decision.
Yeah, that might have been when
There's
we were
usually 2
turning it
options
on and
to
off.
make the decision.
Right,
Sometimes there's
right.
3.
When you're
And
done,
I left it
come
off
talk
at
about it.
Here's the
2
feedback.
minutes before I
So
turned
when
it
you're
back
done,
on.
you're
Yeah.
gonna know what you're gonna do, because you're gonna
But don't pour it
describe.
me, trust me, I got this.
Hey,
Oh,
Trent?
Leo again. I want to
Trent?
ask them what I learned about what you're asking about.
Oh, yeah, don't pour Leo, I just have a big pack.
Do you have
of
the
life.
current
I got
slideshow?
this stuff.
For the
Okay.
breakfast?
No,
He's got it listed there, I'll double check it. Do you wanna play that during the break
Actually,
now?
during the breaks, yeah, we can play them, and then save the current one for when we do in front of the room.
So play all of them, but not the
There's
most recent
a
one?
one that has all of them, you know what I mean? You
Oh,
can play
okay.
that during the
Okay.
breaks, and then, you know.
Yeah, I'll see if he's got one that says awakening videos, I'll see which one he has there, and see if I can find
You're
it.
gonna take each adjective, let's say this one right here, it's gonna help you to be, you know, like.
Handout for the requirements, I'm not sure if I did.
Huh?
The handout that has the second, the requirements of the mastery.
Yeah?
I'm not sure if it gives you that, I don't think I actually read the handout.
I gave it to you last night.
I'm saying,
These are the
whatever
ones I have here.
adjective. So
Am I missing something?
one by one, you see.
Let me show you what it looks
You
like.
guys tell me.
Hold on a
Right?
second.
Like this,
Oh, so,
Okay.
okay?
I'm not attached at all, but like, I
And then,
thought last night.
and then
put
this,
myself out
and
there
see
as
if
a
it supports
possibility
this.
for-
And then you take the one that is the most supportive. Yes,
like right
but
there in the
it's
cover.
It's the context, it's the context of
Awesome.
your higher self,
Great, that would be
not just
awesome
pros
for
and
me.
cons.
But you don't have to limit yourself.
Okay.
When you do lunch, make sure that you don't get too much pizza.
I'm only buying 2 pizzas.
Oh, good, 2 what?
2
We've been
pizzas.
vibing this
Oh.
week.
And you got, everybody give you enough money, you can buy those 2 pizzas?
No, so I'm just getting one for me.
Okay, thanks.
So like there's this
And
whole
you?
book that is
What?
Gallaudet, and they were
No, no, no.
talking about
No.
Whatever money you collected is what you buy.
Okay,
Don't buy
then I
more
just,
than
no, I get that, but this is a different, like,
I'm totally looking at the Bible like
this is just one
completely
pizza
flipped
then.
her down
Because
right
if I
now.
have to buy the one that you
It's
want,
totally
which
like-
is
No,
the.
no, 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 I don't need to have a pizza.
Oh, what
Oh,
if
you
they saw
don't.
it this way?
Okay.
You know?
What I'm saying is, whatever money we collect is what we buy.
It
We don't
sets
buy
everything
more
up
than that.
for
We
the
don't just
climax.
buy pizza because we're supposed to buy pizza.
Okay, shows how,
at this moment.
you know, it sets everything up for the new age.
There's not enough people
And then it shows the effect of the new age.
want to get lunch.
Well, like that idea that the Mason did, like, can be crucified had a direct correlation to him standing up to the money people.
Oh, yeah.
And like the Titanic was really
Broken down and
all these
tired,
financial people.
living life on the merry-go-round.
Literally,
You can find a
Like,
fire, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out.
healthcare for profit instead of
Yeah.
and they got together all the like wealthiest people.
We gon' walk it out.
And once they were on board with their plan, like they just took them out.
Yeah.
Like that, like.
Do you wanna know what's crazy? My Aunt Alice Farlow was going to get on the Titanic, and she was like, she came when they were clearing out. And she's like, well, we can take you on the boat. We can take you out on a dinghy, you can go out there. And she's like, it's just turned out.
Hey, this is an awakening section.
No, yeah.
The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we will take the world to its
empowering part of the awakening was always the story that
bring it to his feet. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. That we have each other, and we will rise, so we will rise.
I'm so good at it, but I hated it. It makes me money, I just, it was not my husband at all.
In spite of the age.
Machine whisper. I can like. I wouldn't even say. Why do? For doing my job. So I like showed up on the job and I got mentoring on the fly and then they'd like send me out to fix something and I'd ask the printer what it needed and the printer would tell me. Yeah.
Dream that you dream of, dream
I love those
My crying is so
I was like, yeah, what are your considerations about me with? I'm like, I don't want to be photographed. Like, I'm fine with everything else, but I don't want to be photographed. I was the one that forgave her. I got up and read and forgave her. That was the best moment.
Oh, I agree. I think that one. That's like epic. I think that
I want that one so much. I want it. No, that one I have to have. I want that one on my wall. No, I don't know where
I have the track. I need to help because they're on like an old smash.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, his breakthrough. I didn't hear it, but oh my gosh.
Wasn't he an archangel? He had an archangel in his separation. Oh, he's so cute. I don't know.
So much.
Oh, that walk.
No, it's not. I think that one.
Oh,
Just grab it. I love that song so much.
our group was so good.
Christy.
Aww.
It's like you're looking at Jesus.
That is literally what it is. Oh, I love that one. I love that one. I love that one.
Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your
I just feel like we
Oh, Rita.
just a bunch of angels hanging out. I love Rita. She's actually my close enemy.
Yeah,
Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are, but I won't let them break down to dust. I know that there's a
We
place
asked for a cover thing where she like, she flexed her boobs.
I used to be so fat. Holy shit.
I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown a mind.
Look at me, take a picture. They got me.
I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
That tearless face. Really hot. I did that one.
I look so pretty when I cry. Like after I cry my face. Scott.
He's intense.
Sarah's like,
Oh, 10 minutes. 10 minutes for 5.
oh, Alex.
that one.
Oh boy. Are you seeing yourself yet? Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I
I think that lots of cute ones.
Lots of cute ones. Okay, so
Fury.
Oh man, I missed that guy.
She was talking.
Where's the conductor awakening and stuff here?
I miss him. He sucks. Jeremy.
Oh shit, were there Jeremy pictures there? Oh, I can't do Jeremy pictures.
He's my team leader. Tries to keep
Yeah, he
Well, there I am.
Oh, you were in Tribes of Kings?
I am.
You were?
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't You can't watch it right through it unless you've been through the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was able to go.
Just on your
Thursday class
yeah,
tonight.
since I haven't, since I don't have
I
which
know,
doesn't
I
have
know.
the arrangements on
But-
money and also my
I'm
regular,
excited.
but
I
I basically,
Are you
you know, Rise,
Bam.
every course I've taken has come for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
When I started the first day, I came in here kind of feeling like a month, you know what I mean? So I get to a point where all this stuff made me, you know, subconscious kind of not starting to care anymore. Not enough. Came to class after, you know, yesterday, especially after, I mean, that's the first day, especially after yesterday, I feel like, you know, I'm back to myself. So I know that once I'm in alignment, everything else will flow. My plan is to go into mastery, as the Lord tells you with, you know, Spirit telling me, this is it. My plan is, you know, once I'm in the door, money will flow. You know, once I'm in alignment, that will be an issue.
Yes.
I don't understand what the conversation is about.
Oh, so she asked me to run this by you since when to initial and sign.
Well, have you read the whole packet? Do you know how much it costs? Do you know?
I went through it in general terms as well, in terms of, so I want to run it by you, you know, so we can go through it fairly quickly, so I want to run it by you in terms of, you know. Right now, it's not like,
Okay.
2 minutes.
You know,
Our group is so awesome.
and first of all, do you want to do,
It's probably the
We're gonna
second
freaking
best group that's ever gone through it. Like that.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be
Should
so devout.
automatically
Okay.
go to the next.
this is
So
the
what does that mean
premium
for me?
program, that's without
that I was
spirit
going-
or love,
right.
or the
I
other
don't
one.
think you should go.
Okay?
That's what I
This
was
is
wondering.
the ultimate
Gone
program
through.
with,
But you get 2 years to complete it. I think that's one of
spirit,
the
love, and
requirements
the
to
other
move it to
side.
mastery,
Okay?
don't see?
With one, you save about
So you
$1,000.
I know,
With
that's
this
why
one, you get
I
$11,000
was wondering
worth
how
of
that
value
works.
for $695. So
I
do
mean,
you know
I'm
which
planning
of
on
those
doing Awakening.
programs
I
you
just
want
need
to
to pay
do?
for this first. That's
I
all.
would like to do the full program,
It's
but
gonna
at the moment I can't commit to, you know, anything financially because, you know, I actually got me $6,000 a year job, just barely, right when I got my car, which is epic, you know.
Okay, so
And then so,
until you can commit,
yes,
then there's no program.
agreed.
So you have to decide.
1
Are you going to
minute.
commit,
It's
or
like,
are you
I
going
really
to
wanna
wait
go to the
till the money
but
comes
I
in?
don't have any money. Stood up and
Well, I would say I commit myself, right, but definitely can do the financial, you know, side of it, then, so kind of both, I guess, you know what I mean? Commit myself and with inside, but, you know, obviously I have to pay you, so then I guess I can commit at that moment, right? But me myself as well, I've already like, you know, made the commitment as of yesterday when that happened.
Okay.
That's what I wanna do, but then officially, I'll commit when I can. That makes sense?
No, it's not I commit, but I can't pay you. It's I commit, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure you pay. And if for some reason you get to a month where you can't pay, then you basically will stop doing the program, and then you'll keep getting the money, and then you'll go to the next
But I can't pay for the first month just yet, so there's that.
Well, you have to put some version of the deposit.
Absolutely agree.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So that's it, yeah.
Absolutely agreed. So that's what I'm saying is.
And you have to
wait till
decide
that
whether
moment.
you're gonna pay for the lawyer or pay for some other facility.
Right.
Time.
Yeah, so I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. Is when that moment comes, and I can officially commit, you know, with you. But
When what moment comes?
when I have the financial means to pay you first.
Now, today, you have to put a deposit down.
Miss Michael Kors.
And you have to pay for the facilitator to interview.
Right, no, but
I
I
ordered
definitely
this
understand what I'm saying,
from-
Gary, is right now, at the moment,
Can we be exchanged?
I'm broke, so,
'Cause I can get
can't
stuff
pay
up
just
there
yet.
without tax.
So then you can't do an interview yet.
Correct.
Normally I can.
And you can't
Yeah.
sign up for the program.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm
But
so
inside here is what I'm
Right.
saying, is I can,
I
but
got it.
yes,
That's-
but yeah.
There's no distinction.
Doing it
Look,
again?
I think I'm gonna do the first part again.
if you're not gonna be
I
here
really
10
wanna
years
assist
from
this
now, or
kid.
20 years
You're
from
gonna be so
now,
amazing.
this conversation. would be
Everybody's
very
amazing.
different.
The
It would be
awakening,
like,
you'll think.
I'm committed, and I'm
You
going to
have your
get
moment.
the money,
I love it.
period. That's the distinction.
No, I understand, for sure, but then I'm 100% there, it's just that I can't make a deposit with you today, since I don't have the deposit with you this moment. right? So it's not about going to, like, I will save myself
I
and,
know.
you know,
That is a little cute baby. I want that picture of you guys.
You have
Yeah, you need to get those
$5.
pictures.
no.
That picture of me and my sister.
I got a $6,000 a year job that I just got, and then right when I started, my car broke down,
Cute.
so.
My
And then I have
suggestion
Back
is,
down
well, you
to
have no
start
cash
out.
in your
I
pocket.
None.
freaking love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
my suggestion is, see
Have you
if
met
somebody
Ennis?
here will
Yeah,
lend
where
you
is
the
he?
money.
He's still on
He's-
vacation?
So you can
He's-
make a deposit.
He's in.
So at $5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When does he get back?
so you can sign up.
I messaged him about stuff, and that's probably why he didn't answer.
And then we'll hold off on your interview
Oh, I thought it was back
until you
then,
can
yeah.
get
I should do
enough
that.
money to pay somebody or get a donation. Somebody will do it for a donation. Okay?
What difference does a $5 make a donation besides, I mean, like, cause I mean, like, if I was.
It would
I think-
take me
I
a
feel like-
long, it would take me a long time to describe the difference. The short version of it is.
I feel like what you mean, though, I know.
You can cheat.
You-
Yeah.
It's not cheat, but you get
Now,
hints.
if you put a deposit down, you know the rate subconsciously.
Yeah.
Right now,
Only those
your
letters.
come from is when I get the money.
These are
That's like
letters.
Moses saying, as soon as that water starts to pump just a little bit, I'm gonna come in.
No, cause if it was just me and my decision, yeah, but with God being the one and how much I, you know, with him being like, you know, then I feel like that.
I'm so close.
I know.
How do I express myself?
God will not support you until you
Support me,
say,
yeah, 100%.
I'm in,
For sure,
100%.
Yes.
And I have no idea where the money's gonna come
Yeah.
from.
which is exactly how I feel right now.
And it's gonna come because I'm gonna make it happen.
That's exactly how I feel myself, so.
Well, then,
Then
borrow
jump
the
in.
deposit.
We had a girl, Sarah, 2 years ago, and she was like on the fence like this, am I gonna do it
I'm
until
not
I
on
can
the
get
fence,
my.
though, that's
No,
what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, like where she would just.
She was afraid to put
until
anything
thing
down.
because she didn't know if she could make it come through, and I talked to her
No,
for
I
about.
don't have anything,
She
then I
was
wouldn't be
like-
afraid. If I had the $5, I would put it
Okay,
down as a
she had
deposit.
no $5.
Yeah.
She
Okay,
had.
let's have a seat so we can do this in front of the room,
Oh, good, yeah.
okay?
Oh, great. I'd rather not, but that's fine.
No, it'll be great.
Well,
It'll serve the
I
group.
just want to support you, because I can tell that you're nervous, but I think that you don't realize how much people would support you.
Not nervous, just privately reserved, because it's just, you know, typically your financial.
Well,
situation
you're enough in
is more
integrity that
private.
you don't want to promise something and not be able to come through.
My intention came from, you know, when I was on the fence, like I told you, what my confirmation was, and to me, that's, you know, everything, so that kind of, that's what changed everything. It's not no longer my self-made decision, it was, you know,
No, you've made the decision, but you're hesitating because you're not green light. You're like, I'm 100%, but that's not 100%.
except for if Bud make a deposit, I don't have a deposit amount at all. you know.
Watch. Sarah wanted to do the awakening more than most people I've ever seen. But she didn't have enough to do it. I said, come to the first day of the awakening and just sit on the couches and watch. And while she was over there, I said, if you ask these people for support, I'm not gonna be surprised if they actually support you enough so you can get the money to get in the awakening. And when she asked them, between the people in the group, they donated $1,000 and she was in. You're afraid to ask this group for $5.
I'm not afraid to ask the group for $5, Gary. I didn't wanna share the situation that I don't have $5 in my pocket with the group that's a little more private. I'm not afraid. It's more,
Okay, then right now, ask the
Okay.
group for as much as your threshold will allow you to ask for.
I don't like to ask for a lot of money. It's not a matter of fear, it's a matter of just,
Yes, it is. What you just said came absolutely out of fear.
I know how you feel, because I feel the same way. I had a friend who offered me some money if I was in a pickle, and I just said no, and it is out of fear. It's out of fear because what if I can't pay them back? It's gonna ruin a friendship. It was out of fear, and I know how you feel, and I don't like to lend money, nor do I like to borrow it,
And this is scarcity thinking.
you know, but it is fear.
reservation, but.
But I still don't wanna be there.
Well, you don't like the word fear, but I'm telling you, your reservation comes out of fear. Because somebody who's not scarcity thinking says, oh geez, I'm really broke right now. Would anybody be willing to lend me whatever? No hesitation.
And here's the thing.
That's how people who have abundance thinking think. So whatever is the concern or the reservation, that's the thinking that will keep you in scarcity.
Or offer a service, you're not just borrowing money.
Right? Well, do you think you would pay them back if they lent you money?
No, never, it's not my concern, of course not.
Okay, so why are you not asking them for help?
Okay, does anyone have $5 they'd like to lend me money?
No. I didn't say ask for $5. I said ask for as much as your scarcity threshold will allow you to ask for. Is that as much as your scarcity threshold will allow you to ask for? I'm asking you to stretch. You know, right now, if you're really wise, you're actually using him as a mirror to see where your own
Mhm.
thinking is. You know what I mean?
Can I say something?
I'm gonna let him be with this for a minute.
Okay.
Now, if that's as much as you can ask for, okay, do that. But I'm asking you to look and see what's the most you can ask for. See, watch. I would love all of you to pitch in and donate $1,000 to Leo. See, now, who cares if they say no? No, thank you, Gary. Who cares? You do. What's the hesitation? God, I have
I've
hundreds
been on my
of-
own for a long time and kind of supported myself for a long time, that is, you know,
Say it again?
been on my own for a long time.
Yeah.
And supported myself for a long time, so I'm not used to it.
Well, if you ask for help, what do you think is wrong with you? Like, what's the story you make up about people who ask for help?
Nothing. There's no judgment for myself or anybody else for that matter.
Well, then why don't you ask? Something is stopping you. It's clear to the whole room, Leo.
It's not about judgment, it's about, and I'm not saying like it's not an issue that needs to be mended, I'm saying like, it's just not.
Well,
something
yeah,
that
so
needs to-
what's stopping you? There's no judgment on our part, I'm just saying what's stopping you.
Trying to see how I can put it in words, without portraying fear or judgment. I'm not sure how to do it, I can put it in words without portraying that, but it's just, it's almost like a foreign
Take,
language.
Take a wild guess. Matter of fact, take several wild guesses. It could be this, it could be that.
It's not fear. It's not me not knowing for sure to pay him back. It's not me not being 100% confident that I can make money and have the ability to, you know.
It's interesting that you're going
Skill.
all to the don't wants. You're going all to the nots. It's not this, it's not that, and not that. I'm saying, what is it?
Then what am I missing? I'm not sure.
Well, go to the other theater. Go to what it is. What could it be?
Foreign. It is. I'm drawing blank. Honestly, I am.
Can you see how big this is for you?
Yep.
By how much time we're taking and how your mind is confused? What's that feeling?
It's not that I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gary.
It's a very sweet feeling.
It's that I'm hurt.
You're hurt? And what's the story of the hurt? Like, what hurts is what?
It's a long one.
Yeah, fine. I love long stories when they're emotional. What's the hurt?
There's definitely not enough hours in this day to describe like the amount of.
Actually, you could start with one sentence. I'm afraid to admit that I'm broke because, fill in the blank.
Because I'm broken.
Ah, that's it. Bingo. First try out of the box, you nailed it. Okay, so.
You're just broke. I'm not on the right. It's this thing right here.
Yeah, the sad part is that the broken, the fear of being broken, the story called broken, stops you from getting to abundance. Now, Leo, you have everything you need to actually be absolutely abundant. If I
Well,
told
I'm
you,
getting there soon.
if I told, I mean, you actually have some history where you actually made a lot of money,
Tons.
right?
Yes.
Good, so you know that that's possible for you.
Absolutely.
Right, okay? It's just that for a little while, and you can identify, Sue, you've been in a place where you've been stuck enough that you keep going around the edge of the river. You keep eddying out over the same thoughts and feelings that keep you broke. You keep going over the same thoughts and feelings that keep you broke. And all this asking for $5, if that's all you can ask for, is about you taking steps toward a support that can get you to transform those thoughts and feelings.
So 29 years old, Gary, I went to go join the military into intelligence. I got sick. I ended up in the hospital. I lost everything, so I was in there for 3 months. And then I was broken then. At that moment I was broken. I went around the wrong crowds. Very quickly it was identified that I was not like them by my light. A green light was put on my head and a whole bunch of people came to try to kill me. I was shot out 3 times. I was hit by a truck, purposely. And this ensued for years and years and years.
Is this from the military or from other people?
post-military. Trying to go, after I went to go join the military, and the United States government was happy to have me because my languages, my 3 different languages. I was in the hospital. I got I inhaled a bunch of concrete dust. My best theory is I inhaled a bunch of concrete dust through work, got lodged in my small intestine, my intestine got blocked. I was in the hospital for 3 months. Lost everything because of that. And, of course, my pathway, and that's when I was broken. And then started, my dark night of the soul, but, an F-storm, to say the least. And the fact I'm alive is tremendous. My story's actually gotten out, inspired a whole bunch of people, and that's given me great satisfaction, but, that's all ego stuff, but, that's where it stems from, is like, how much I took then, So it wasn't thoughts, actually, my thoughts were, the reason I'm alive, and spirit, and my own belief and strength in myself is why I'm alive, or else I would be long buried.
Okay, well, everybody is exactly where they are in their life because of specific thoughts and feelings. So which thoughts and feelings got you here?
Continuously wanting to work on myself and wanting to improve myself.
No, that's what improves you. That's what gets you to higher ground. That's not what keeps you stuck. That's not what is keeping you in scarcity.
I don't know what it is.
Okay. So maybe it'd be good to be somewhere where somebody can help you discover what it is that's keeping you down.
I guess that's what I'm hearing then.
Yeah. Yeah. So, are you brave enough or safe enough yet to ask for whatever? So you can take a step forward?
Brave enough, always. Safe enough, I guess, is
Question.
the one, because,
Yeah. See, what's the worst that could happen if you ask somebody for $5?
it's not what it's about. It's not my fear of them judging me or nothing like that. It's nothing like that. If that's what
Interesting
it
how
takes to get the
defensive
program,
you are.
then
It's interesting how defensive you are.
Just
I
trying
mean,
to
it's a
scramble
very
for words,
simple
I guess.
question. Watch, okay? Why not ask for $5? Now, answer that question.
But when I did that, Gary, and I said, hey, does anyone have $5? And your reply was,
said
why not ask
no.
them for as much as possible? And then we went
I
that
said,
way.
ask for as much as your scarcity threshold will allow you. If your scarcity threshold won't allow you to ask for more than $5, then ask for $5. If it will allow you to ask for 10, ask for 10. They'll ask you, no, ask for whatever your scarcity threshold will allow you to ask for.
How about this? Would anyone like to contribute to my movement to mastery? With whatever you feel comfortable with.
There you go. I like it. Okay?
It's very good.
Alice?
Yes.
When you run my card, you run it for $66 so that for my lunch and Leo's lunch and $50 for deposit for Mastery for Leo.
That would be my own. I would also like to donate $50.
I have 5, literally, I do. See, the number 5 was a purpose, 'cause it's all I have. And you can have it, give it to him. I want him to have it.
Leo, what you're feeling right now is incredibly important. What are you feeling? Do your best to say it. It's important.
Love.
You're a huge gift to this room right now. Because there isn't anybody in this room that doesn't know what it's like to be on financial hard times. There isn't anybody in this room who doesn't know what it's like to be afraid to ask for help. I want to say something else about this moment. It's important. Suicide is something that is accelerating on the planet because the veil's getting thinner.
And so the light is getting more and the dark is getting more. And suicide is on the rise. And all of you are gonna know people that you care about that are gonna commit suicide. Okay? Now, what Leo's teaching us at this moment is that it's safe to ask for help. And the greatest gift that you gave them right now was letting them know that they could make a difference to you.
Huge.
Yeah. You know, Leo, there was a book by a guy, I think he sold millions of copies, and it was something about how he died and he went back and then he came back, you know. One of those Embraced by the Light books, you know, I don't remember what it was called. But he was on TV one day. And when he went back, when he died, he met his best friend in the spirit realm. And he remembered that best friend had actually volunteered to be homeless and a bum on the street. Like in Salt Lake, it would be Pioneer Park. And when he saw that bum on the street, something happened, and he was so inspired that he dedicated his life to helping people. And when he met him in the spirit world, he remembered that friend loved him so much and saw what he could do to help people that he volunteered to have that life. His friend volunteered to have a life where he would become a bum so he could inspire him to help millions of people. So whether you and I are up or down, we are a gift. You know? And I have this strong suspicion that when you get some tools and skills and support and structure and movement to mastery, that you'll get back one day to making good money. And I suspect that you'd be happy to pay these people back and maybe find somebody else who really wants to do movement to mastery and is broke, and you'll probably help them out too. You know what I'm saying? Good. Let's acknowledge them.
Thank you, Leo.
Well, if we did nothing else today, that was worth it.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, I'm gonna go back over some of the quiz questions so that Leo and Zola can be reminded how important the quiz is to their movement to mastery, okay? So, excused absences. What is the value of turning in excused absences ahead of time? Answer, people who have jobs where they can be called out at any moment create their boss calling them out when from their group when they want to avoid. When they're on track, they don't get called. Another answer, you are responsible for turning in to the team manager, which happens to be Trent, your excused absences by the end of this weekend. So if you have anything on the calendar that you know your sister's gonna get married on that day or whatever, then you should turn that into Trent. If you don't have excused absences, don't worry about it, okay? Now, what are the 3 ingredients necessary to get excused from a particular meeting if it's not on your list of excused absences? Like, let's say Zola's in Movement to Mastery and all of a sudden her favorite band, you know, who's your favorite band right now?
They're not around, but Erasure.
Okay. Rager just happens to come to Salt Lake City, and she wants to go see him, but it's the same night as Movement to Mastery. So here's the 3 things she needs to do. She needs to make voice contact, no messages, with the coordinator, and ask them, not tell them, ask them if it's okay. If they don't get that your reason is legitimate, you're agreeing right now ahead of time that you can be counted on to keep your agreement to attend. Like, for example, I had a fight with my boyfriend or my husband, and I have a lot of feelings that I'm not in a good space. That is not legitimate. That's exactly when you need to show up. Okay? When you ask to be excused, who determines if you can be excused? The team manager, Trent. If there's an emergency and you can't get a hold of him, you can call the facilitator, which is Gary this round. No one else, not your small group leader. Okay? Emergencies. If an emergency occurs and I need to be excused from a meeting, what is the protocol? Multiple choice. Leave a message by phone, email, or text. Tell your phone buddy to inform the group and leaders. Tell your small group leader or team coach. D, clear this by voice contact with your team manager who agrees with you that your emergency warrants being absent. If not, your agreement is to attend. In other words, if you think it's an emergency and you call Trent and he says, no, that's not a legitimate emergency, then you're already agreeing that you're going to attend. Okay? Okay. Assist at the awakening. What is required for assisting at the awakening? Although it is required, this is a get to more than a have to. It is incredibly valuable to catapult your goals and dreams, to assist at the awakening. At phase 1 and phase 2, to source a position, okay? To source space, logistics, music, food, administration, participant well-being, assistant well-being, facilitator well-being, etc. This includes doing my best, hitting the mark to make sure my area is staffed throughout the entire retreat, or I cover the position. If you haven't done the awakening, this agreement is in place when you do. So let's say Zola's already done the awakening, so she'll be a source position at this year's awakening. Let's say that Danielle or Leo hasn't done the awakening and they don't do it this year, so then they do it whenever they do it. If they do it next year or the year after, then after they do it, they agree to be a source position, okay? No matter how long it takes to get there, okay? Good. You know, in Movement to Mastery, there's an evening I teach called the Game of Service. Actually, there's 2 evenings before the awakening for the people who assist. And it's an incredibly valuable night, incredibly valuable, because you'll learn principles in that evening. And by the way, Sue, anybody can come to that evening. Okay?
Are they great?
And it's incredibly valuable because it teaches you the science of creating results. Very much like manifesting money course, it's all about intention. And I'll just give you one quick example about how miracles of results happen when they're assisting at the awakening. In the old days, when there was 35mm film instead of digital cameras, right? We used to go, in those days, we used to go all night long, okay? So it's about 3 in the morning. And the camera guy comes up to me and goes, hey, Gary, I'm sorry, but we just ran out of film. And I said, well, we absolutely need film for this next process. We need to take photos for this next process. So I want you to go and get some film. He goes, well, we're beyond Heber. The closest thing that would have been open would have been Park City, but it's the middle of the night. I go, I got it. Okay, now one of the principles for creating miraculous results is your willingness to operate beyond your considerations. The willingness to operate beyond your considerations. So I asked him, I said, are you willing to operate beyond your considerations? He said, yes. I said, good. Go get some film. Now, I want you to think about this. He had no idea where he was going to find film. He thought maybe if he drove all the way back to Salt Lake City, you know, he'd get some film, you know, find some place that was open all night or whatever, right? he gets to the very first stop sign, which is a four-way stop, and at the same time he gets there, a car pulls up and stops. He gets out of his car, he waves the guy down, he says, "Is there any chance that you have any 35mm film, because I'll buy all of it?" He goes, "Yeah, I happen to have 6 rolls in the back seat."
I love these.
Now, I want you to get it. Would that car have shown up at that moment? Would God have arranged that if he hadn't been willing to operate beyond his considerations? No. So that's just an example of that night, the game of service. Okay. Ah, good. This next process I'm going to do with you comes from Spirit of the Awakened Warrior, okay? It's called Embracing the Brat.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, embracing what?
The brat.
No.
Now, when you're in Movement to Mastery, you'll get to do a course with Lori called Peer Processing. And by the way, Sue, people can do her class with that, and I don't remember what it costs, but I know it's not very expensive.
It's 60.
60 or something, right,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's usually a 2-for-1.
Yeah, peer processing, okay? It's a huge value, huge benefit, because like I said earlier, people do not understand emotions. They don't understand that as long as they don't deal with their emotions in a healthy way, they have to act them out. There's no other vote, okay? So this process I'm going to take you is fantastic for overcoming any resistance to doing what would produce better results. So overcoming resistance. It's also great to overcome procrastination. If you're good at procrastination, this can help you get through it. It's also good to help you overcome negative emotions so that you can deal with them and then speak effectively to those you want to get through to. Okay? Good. Like I've worked with people who were executives in Fortune 500 companies who knew that if they didn't stop procrastinating, they were going to get fired. And I taught them this skill, and it absolutely saved their career.
This is my biggest hurdle.
So, here's how it's going to work, okay? You're going to pair up, face-to-face, knee to knee, 2, 4, 6. Okay, so Trent, do you want to sit out, or Alice, do you want to sit out?
I'll sit out.
Okay, so Trent will participate, you'll be on music.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you're going to pair up, face-to-face, knee to knee, okay? And whoever is the bravest person is going to go first, being a brat. Okay? And then the other person is going to basically attack the one who's going to be embracing the brat. They're going to attack them the way they attack themselves in their own head. When they judge themselves, beat themselves up, whatever, they're going to attack you as if they're beating themselves up. They're even going to say their own first name. So if Elisa's paired up with Leo or something, she'll say Elisa, and then she'll just beat herself up. And Leo's going to be the brat. So Leo's going to go, nah, 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 nah. Talk to the hand, you know, get off my back. I don't care. I'm never going to do it. You'll never take me alive, Cubbers, right? And you want to be as loud and vehement as you can possibly be. That's important. You don't want to be like, I'm not listening to you. No, 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 no. Get off my back! Loud! You know what I mean? Okay, so, get with your partners. Sit face to face, knee to knee.
No, this is gonna be easy.
So much fun.
Here, chair. Is that what you're looking for?
Face to face, knee to knee.
So it's,
You're a partner with Frank, do that?
I haven't.
Oh my God, you're in for like 50 minutes.
She is a big rat. She's one of my
I
favorites.
think now you have my
I
paper.
was thinking about him.
Huh? I think now you have my paper, the movement to master paper. The movement to master paper? Yeah, I just reviewed it a second ago. Let's initial now. I think now I.
Oh, is that yours?
Yes, sir.
I know.
Sign it initially.
I have no hesitancy about.
Oh, you're Yuri. This is the
Yuri.
hardest
And
process
this
for
one's
me.
fun. This one's so much fun.
Can you help us, please? One of us is the brat.
She'll be the brat, she's done it before, and you did in the last one.
And she's taunting me?
No,
Oh.
you're gonna talk to yourself and judge yourself. She's
Oh,
gonna role
she's
play
me.
you.
Okay.
And you're gonna say
I'm
all the
terrible.
stuff that you say in your head when you wanna judge yourself, get yourself
Oh, okay.
happy, okay? You're gonna be as vicious as you can, and she's gonna be the brat, okay?
Okay.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody ready?
Ready.
First person go until I blow the whistle. Ready? Go!
I'm not listening to you. I don't care. You're a football pants anyway. I don't care. I can't do anything you say. I'm gonna take my coin and I'm gonna go home. You can't take care of myself. I don't need to.
Ah!
Acknowledge your partner. Okay. Now the other person is going to beat themselves up, and the other person is going to be a brat. Let's see if you can outdo the other person on being the brat. Ready? Go.
I hate you! You're such a piece of shit! You do nothing right! Everything! Everything! No good! No good! Everything! You're a piece of crap! You don't do anything right! You're a smoker! You're a loser! You don't take care of yourself! You don't take care of your kids! You don't take care of anybody! You're a piece of crap! You're a loser! You have no motivation! You have nothing to give! Worthless!
Come back to the bigger circle.
Ready enough? I'm Robert, you're Glenn. I like that.
We're gonna have no voice between this and the Olympics.
Trying to far too handsome.
Come on back, Alice. I'll take some shares. What did you notice or discover?
This was so much fun. I loved being the brat. Because it's still like being yourself. Like you could just be mean, but I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah. And you could just like, it's like detoxifying.
Yeah.
When you are not the brat, the other person. I felt very detoxifying, not feeling guilty without letting anyone, like, I don't like complaining about that because then it's like, wah, 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 you know, and I don't want to do that to other people. It's just like a bring down. And now I could do it without feeling like I'm bringing other people down. And I just was like rinsing it away and like letting my other Sue show. That other Sue.
I like that other Sue.
See, Sue,
I
when Lloyd
loved it,
when Lloyd teaches peer processing, it's like you give each other equal time, 10 minutes each or 20 minutes each, whatever. And in your time, you rant and rave all of your feelings, whatever. You can rant and rave about your partner or God or the weather. It doesn't matter. As long as you get all the gunk out of your system, you can get back to being clear and present and yourself.
And I like being the brat because I could be the little kid who used to say, you're rubber and I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me, sticks to you. I love saying that. It was just so much fun to say all this little crappy stuff.
Acknowledge. Leo?
Make a comment. When Sue drove me home, the second night, she asked me like what the general purpose of this all is, right, with the education.
Oh.
Do you guys agree that like she's a whole lighter person that's already evolved in this short amount of time?
Mhm.
From the time that she's
Yeah, I
been here?
feel it.
Will
I'm
you guys,
starting
will you
to-
guys,
We all saw it today when you walked in. It was like, new Sue.
yep, so.
Yeah, I just thank you for saying that, Leo. I appreciate that a lot. I'm starting, because a lot of the things we're doing are things I've done already in my
But-
life, you know? And I just forgot to do it. I forgot about it. And so it's let me come back to the empower myself because of a place I've already achieved and then slid backwards.
Sure.
I appreciate you saying that to me. Thank you so much. I do.
Acknowledge.
It's
I didn't even raise my hand, but.
I can tell
It's
when you're
always
ready to
good.
share.
You used to do that to me. It got to a point where Trent couldn't even think of something to say. Because critical parent isn't the truth. It's a lie. It's death. And death ends, and you can stick in the end in the death and not move, or you can break through to the truth, where we're both laughing together, parent and child, and we're creating something magical, and we're moving forward. There was a moment where we were just laughing together, and it was awesome. And that's the truth, you know, when parent and child work together, and you move.
Yes. Well said, acknowledge. You know, Zola, this is interesting that one day when I was watching Laura do an NLP process that made Tony Robbins a billionaire. It's called reprogramming a phobia, because anybody knows NLP can reprogram a phobia within, 30, 45 minutes, When I was watching her do it, I was realizing how similar the process was to what we do in the breakthrough, although not as powerful. And I realized that every technology that I've ever studied, transactional analysis, Gestalt therapy, primal therapy, all the different technologies have one thing in common. They get the parent in our head to talk differently to the child in our head. That's the whole ballgame. Because when those two start to work together, you are literally unstoppable. Thank you. Somebody else. Elisa.
I love how it's different every time. I love discovering how many different ways there are to be a brat.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And this time, I realized what was going on was this critical voice wasn't talking to adults,
Yeah.
Elisa.
Yes.
Like, been to the war zone, gone through a
Yeah,
bunch of, overcome a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
They were talking to my baby that way.
Yeah.
They were talking to my little inner infant
Yeah.
that felt scared and vulnerable and hurt. And I'm like, you don't get to talk to my baby that way. And I started standing up to them
Yeah.
like that voice, that noise was like
Yes.
a poison for the ears.
Yes.
And I was like, I can tune this out.
Yes.
And I'm an archangel. I don't have to.
Right.
Like, I don't ever have to entertain a negative thought because
That's right.
that is so far from who I am
That's right.
that even just allowing my ears to hear
Yes.
the voice
Yes.
and anything that's said brings me down.
Yes.
So I was just like, I am casting you out of me and off the planet and
That
like
was rude.
protecting my little baby from this. And like everyone on the planet deserves to be protected from this because it is not who we are.
Yes.
It was like,
Absolutely.
and I started yelling at it, and then I just started creating what I did want because I'm like, I don't speak that language. I'm sorry. I don't speak don't want.
Yeah.
I speak do want. This is what I want. This is what I see. And then if I even like tuned in for a second, it didn't matter what he was saying. It was just like a song. Like if I didn't change the radio station and I heard any of that song, I felt it hit my ear and go, ugh. And I was like, no, I don't want to hear that. And it just, I had to completely like surround it in protection and like not hear it and focus on what station I want to have. Yeah.
Do you get how powerful you are right now?
Yeah.
There is a fundamental signpost in the process of empowerment dialogue. And that fundamental signpost is the day that the child says to the critical parent, you do not get to talk to me like that anymore. That becomes a whole new game now. Whole new game. So congratulations. Acknowledge.
Okay. We're going to show the slideshow for the awakening. And when we're done showing the slideshow, I'll let people who've been through the awakening share about it. And then we'll have lunch.
Oh, sorry.
Yay, I love those.
I am light, I am light. I am light, I
Now
am
remember,
light.
everything you sing in here is volunteer basis.
I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I am light.
I love that.
I am light. I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream that I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. All light. Yeah. All light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. Yeah. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Sister, before, after, I know him.
What word he's gonna say.
Fabulous.
Come stop your crying, it will be alright. Just take my hand, hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For one so small, you seem so strong. My arms will hold you, keep you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I'll be here, don't you cry. 'Cause you'll be in my heart. Yes, you'll be in my heart. From this day on,
Yeah, the world's those beautiful girls. Family. Mother and son. Father and daughter.
they just don't
Sisters.
what they can't explain. I know we're different.
Husband and wife. Family.
We're not that different.
Husband and wife.
And you'll be in my heart. Yes, you'll be in my heart. From this day on,
Sister. Brother and sister. Family.
we need each other to have to hold. They'll see in time.
Sister.
When destiny calls you, you must be strong. I may not be with you, but you got to hold on. They'll see in time.
I won that game.
So live together, 'cause you'll be in my heart. You'll be in my heart. I'll be there from this day on forever. You'll be here in my heart. I'll be with you. You'll be here in my heart. I'll be always in my heart. I'll be with you. I'll be there for you always, always and always.
Yeah. Oh no, turn it off.
No, no.
Oh, I don't like
There
it.
it is.
Oh.
Yes.
And now it's on.
Child, there's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with
that is your
it.
inner child.
Lights.
Oh, it's so cute.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you contributing to
Okay, I want to take some shares from anybody who's been through the awakening.
I can share.
Go ahead. Come on up, Trent.
Oh. Yeah, watching that video again brings it all back. Wow. So I've done a lot of things in my life. I was LDS missionary. I've done lots of workshops, lots of stuff over the years. Moving to mastery, but nothing was as transformative. Nothing was as impactful. Nothing really affected my heart as much as the awakening. I went there with goals to improve my financial life, to improve my connection with my oldest kids, my wife, my younger kids, my extended family. And I got all of that in a big, big way. And those are lasting results that'll stick with me forever. But I think even bigger than that for me is I healed the damaged, broken little parts inside of myself, my own internal family, in the biggest way that it ever happened since then. And so I'm always going to be grateful for the awakening. I'd go.
Acknowledge.
No matter what it takes, I'd go.
Anybody else? Solo.
Before the awakening, life just happened to me.
What's that sound?
Sorry.
She's running the credit card.
Oh.
Life just happened to me. And there's nothing I could do about it. And I just saw a picture of Ennis, who was supposed to be my dad, holding me. And he was winking at the camera. And the awakening is about getting that everybody's pain and trauma is for you, so you can be the light that you came to be. The awakening is about owning that you create your reality, so that you can take that power and create heaven on earth. And it is an experience that no amount of money is too big to get. And I would highly recommend it.
What are the questions about the awakening?
Sure. Actually, I'll do the shares first, and then at lunch, I'll answer any and all questions. Okay?
Yes.
Huh?
Sure.
Thank you. Elisa, you want to share?
So the tricky thing about trauma is that it gets stuck inside of us. And what we think we need to heal isn't always conscious. So I found that I needed facilitation and help with even knowing where to begin healing. Because at the awakening, I found that what I tried to say was causing my trauma wasn't even, it was like the tip of the iceberg. And it wasn't until I went below the surface, deep into the subconscious, and accessed stuff that happened, like birth trauma type stuff, that I never thought to go into a counselor and be like, yeah, I'll take birth trauma for $200, you know, like, felt like I was laying cards out, and they'd be like, you, like, pick one. And one of the counselors I saw picked weight. I'm like, that's just a symptom. This was the first time that I went somewhere and they actually helped me tune into my subconscious and find where I would get the most bang for my buck with healing. And that is just so valuable. And like, I want that for every person that has been traumatized, so they don't have to waste time healing. It's hard enough healing. Like, find the core issue and do that. And then your whole life from that moment forward is going to transform, because the energy is going to be cleaned up, and you're going to stop creating what you've been creating when you made up whatever you made up about yourself in that moment.
Well said. Acknowledge.
I love it, Lisa.
Yes.
Do you want to share or not? You don't have to.
I think I'll share, but I'll share from. It was really super cool to get up here and see my daughter do such a phenomenal job. I couldn't have put it better myself.
I had this really amazing moment a couple of months ago. I was meeting with a school counselor in regards to my autistic daughter, and she brought something up, and she said, you know, your daughter was talking, and she was saying, you know, I used to be afraid of my mom. Even though she loved me, I mean, she was going through and saying, I know she loves me and she wants the best for me, but she just felt like I was telling her what to do, and she was doing it, or, you know, doing her best to please me. And she says, I want you to know that every one of both of your kids' goals for the last 2 years has, how come we get out of school so we can spend more time with Mom? I don't have kids anymore. I do not have children anymore. I have people in my life who love me and I love them. And we walk hand in hand. If I do something not good, that doesn't work for them, they call me on the carpet lovingly, and we walk through it. When I make mistakes, we laugh. We make the correction and we move on. And my kids cannot wait to get out of bed in the morning. The first thing they do is jump in with me. And it's, Mom, how can we support each other? So today our family is the best family that we can possibly have. And it has not mattered about money. It hasn't mattered about where we're living, what car we're driving, the clothes on our back. I haven't worried about a single circumstantial event in the last 4 years.
Amazing.
Not one circumstantial event. And I drive up here sometimes twice a month. And I've been doing it since the day I got out of the awakening. I realized I love myself so much that whatever the awakening gave me, I love that so much. I will do whatever it takes to support that. And for me, that was producing. Movement to Mastery was like, yeah, we'll do that. But I needed to be here on that kind of a level. And this entire world has shown up for me for the last 4 years because I just did what Leo did. I jumped. Didn't know how it was going to happen, and I jumped. And I mean, heaven on earth doesn't really describe it. It just, after the awakening and movement to mastery, and after really becoming the center of your world, it's like, yeah, sure, you feel the ripples of the life that's happening, down here, but you're just up here where the water is calm and peaceful and serene. And you are the most important thing in your world. And because of that, you can't afford to treat anything in this world at less than their highest. If everybody in this world went through a little bit of what Gary does, and other people around the world do similar things, and we got it that there is no conflict when two people come together, it's to share a universal truth. This world would be the bliss that we all imagine it to be. And it is that bliss as soon as you decide to write that story. And that's what the awakening does for you.
Thank you.
Like you said, you're like, it's a disaster, and you're like, perfect.
Very quickly, I'll share my first awakening style breakthrough with Mel Wasserman. Back in those days, we used to go all night long. And somewhere in the middle of the night, they put on a piece of music. It's the Neil Diamond version of the Holly song, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. And suddenly, I remembered something that I had completely forgotten about since I was 4 or 5 years old. And we're walking down the trail, and my sister and her black friend are walking down, and these bullies who are probably a couple years older start pushing them around. My younger brother, Steve, gets between Lori and the bullies and says, "Stop it, leave him alone." And then realizes, oh, now he's in the line of fire. And so the bully says, "What are you doing? Move." And he slaps him. And Steve's paralyzed. "Move," slaps him again. move, slaps, and every time he slaps him, we're dying. And Lori turns to me, she goes, Gary, help him, he's your brother. And, you know, 4-year-old Gary's like, you help him, he's your brother, you know. Well, I completely forgot about that moment, but I never realized how much that moment created me being a people pleaser, you know, being a wimp, that kind of thing. So they throw a big pillow in front of me and they say, you know, that was the day you lost your soul because you didn't do what you wanted to do. You weren't true to yourself. You betrayed your own truth. So they put a big pillow in front of me and they said, okay, that's the bullies. And before they could get the next sentence completely out, I jumped on it, leave my brother alone. And I don't know how long I hit the pillow, but it was a long time. When I got back in my chair, I could literally feel in my body, like a suit of armor, the tension that had been running through my body ever since that moment. And it was like literally a suit of armor inside my body. And then something miraculous happened. Some energy came from the earth, and I let go of the tension, and the tension let go of me. And it was like getting on an elevator in my consciousness, and I got higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. A little voice said, top floor, right? And I saw my true self, or my God self, or my divinity, whatever you want to call it. And I couldn't stop crying. And the first thought in my head was, thank you. And the second thought was, please don't ever leave me. And the third thought was, what if I could share this with people? And that was the day I became a facilitator, right? So, we're gonna have lunch over in this neighborhood, set up some tables, and everybody will be at the table, and you can ask me any questions. As a matter of fact, anybody can ask me any questions about anything, since I can see the next 4 or 5 years of your life. Even though I can't tell you the next 4 or 5 years, I can only tell you the next step for yourself. I learned many years ago that if I tell people the whole next 4 or 5 years, they sabotage it because they get so scared, you know? So you can ask me any questions you want at the table as we're eating, okay? Okay, let's do lunch. The pizza's over in the other room, right?
Yes, it's in the, what? Yes.
You want break videos or awakening videos? Good?
Awakening videos.
I'm just helping you out. You run this, I'll do that. 66. So it'll be 8 for me, 8 for
Yeah, I keep seeing it going through something. I wish all 3 of my sons could do it, but I can think of one that really, really is. They live in Illinois, but still, the awakening would probably be good because that's a short period of time, where the other one is over 8 months. But,
Well, people do movement to mastery out of state all the time. But this week
Oh, they
we've got-
do?
We've got 4 people.
Oh, no, they can do that.
They watch online, they meet,
Oh.
and they come in for a few weekends first, and the rest of the weekend.
Oh, okay.
square, and
He says, sweetheart, when you're done setting up lunch, can you send us teaser? That's what he said. When you're done helping set up,
It sounds like the craft table or like the donut table.
Mix everything, it's not so, the proper.
no way! That's me. That's what I'm doing. That's my job. That's awesome.
Well, there's, I think there was 8 of us. 4 each, one ahead, you know. They wanted side by side here.
Let's do side by side. Let's do side by side.
Let's take side by side.
Square.
That's true.
Well, we usually do like a big square, but.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 8.
So, side by side.
Dad was like,
Hello, hello. What's your name?
Oh, cute. Oh, I like them. I like the bullet count. I'm a little jealous.
Like these?
Your writing is so beautiful. I was like looking at your notes, being
Because
jealous.
see it.
So cramped and beautiful, and precise and pristine and.
I went to a chemistry class, and the teacher